I watched a man I used to work with, let's call him Derek, go through something nobody around him could name. He was 42, solid career, 2 kids, good marriage by all visible measures. And then something shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, just this slow unravelling that everyone noticed but nobody mentioned. He stopped talking about the future, started saying yes to things that didn't matter and no to things that did. And when someone asked if he was okay, he'd smile and say fine, and the conversation would end there. I saw it because I'd been through it myself a few years earlier, and I realised we'd both been navigating the same invisible decade, the one nobody warns you about, the one that shows up somewhere between 35 and 45 and asks a question most men aren't prepared to answer. What happens when the story you've been telling yourself about who you're becoming stops making sense? This is about the 2 worlds that emerge during that decade, the world of the man who makes it through, and the world of the man who doesn't, and how the difference between them comes down to something almost nobody talks about openly. Let me start with what actually happens inside a man during these years, because it's not what most people think. There's research from Poland that studied 144 men aged 35 to 45. They describe this period as an intensive and subjectively difficult transition. You're reinterpreting your whole time perspective, confronting death as something that'll actually happen to you, re-evaluating what you thought mattered. It's not a breakdown, it's a reckoning. Psychologist Daniel Levinson called the period from 40 to 45 the midlife transition, a time when you're re-evaluating everything you committed to, making dramatic changes if you need to, and feeling this sense of urgency about life and what it all means. But here's the part that matters. The men Levinson interviewed couldn't reconcile the dream they'd held about their future with the reality they were actually living. That gap, that's where everything breaks. You spent your 20s building, your early 30s refining, and somewhere in your late 30s you look up and realise the thing you've been building isn't taking you where you thought it would. The career that was supposed to feel meaningful feels mechanical. The relationship that was supposed to deepen feels routine. The body that was supposed to stay strong starts sending signals you can't ignore. And the worst part, you can't explain it to anyone without sounding ungrateful or lost or weak. So most men do what Derek did. They go quiet, they keep performing, and they start making decisions that don't make sense to the people around them because those decisions aren't about logic. They're about trying to feel something real again. Now here's where the 2 worlds split. World 1. The man who never does the internal work. Some men suffer defeats they never recover from. They lack the inner and outer resources to create even a minimally adequate life structure in middle adulthood. They face constriction and decline. Others build a life structure that works reasonably well in the world, but it's poorly connected to who they actually are. They perform their social roles, but their lives lack any inner excitement. This is the invisible tragedy of this decade. Not the guy who blows up his life. The guy who keeps his life intact but loses himself inside it. He shows up. He provides. He fulfills obligations. But when you ask him what he actually wants, he has no answer. Because he stopped asking himself that question years ago. He replaced it with what's expected, what's safe, what keeps the machine running, and the cost of that trade shows up everywhere. In his marriage where he's present but not connected, in his friendships that slowly dissolve because he stopped initiating, in the hobbies he used to love that now feel like relics of a person he used to be. Research shows male unhappiness peaks at age 50. That's not an accident. That's the cumulative weight of a decade spent avoiding the real question. Most people get this completely wrong. They think the crisis is about wanting something different, a younger partner, a flashier car, a reset button. But that's not it. The real crisis is realizing you've spent 15 years building a life that doesn't need you to be you. It just needs you to function. And somewhere along the way you forgot what you actually are when you're not performing a role. World 2. The man who does the work. This man doesn't avoid the discomfort. He sits with it. He asks the hard questions. Who am I when I'm not being what everyone needs me to be? What do I actually value? What parts of my life are genuine and what parts are just autopilot? And here's what I keep coming back to. That work is terrifying because it requires a man to admit he doesn't have it all figured out, that the confidence everyone sees is partly performance, that he's scared, that he's tired, that he doesn't know what comes next. Economist Jonathan Rauch documented what he calls the U-curve of happiness. Life satisfaction tanks through our 30s and early 40s, hitting absolute bottom around age 47.5, then it swings back up. But it doesn't swing back up because time passes. It swings back up when a man stops running from the question and starts answering it. The men who make it through this decade intact do something specific. They rebuild their identity from the inside, not by blowing up their lives, by reconnecting to the parts of themselves they buried under responsibility and expectation, and the pressure to have it all together. They start saying no to things that drain them, even if those things look impressive from the outside. They reconnect with old passions, not to relive youth, but to remember what engagement actually feels like. They find mentors or peers who are honest about their own struggles, because they realize they can't do this alone. Midlife isn't so much a chronological age, but a psychological state where transition is ready to happen depending on whether you're ready for it. The second half of life presents this rich possibility for spiritual enlargement. That word, enlargement. Not shrinking, not settling, enlargement. But only if you're willing to go through the contraction first. Let me tell you what nobody explains about this decade. The real danger isn't the crisis itself, it's the isolation. Men don't talk about this. Not to their wives because they don't want to seem weak. Not to their friends because male friendships are built on banter, not vulnerability. Not to a therapist because seeking help still feels like failure, so they carry it alone. And when you carry something like this alone, it starts making decisions for you. You start drinking more. Not because you're an alcoholic, but because it's the only time your nervous system settles. You start working longer hours. Not because you're ambitious, but because work gives you something concrete to control. You start pulling away emotionally. Not because you don't love your partner, but because you don't know how to explain what's happening when you don't understand it yourself. And that right there is everything. The difference between the man who makes it through and the man who doesn't isn't intelligence or strength or willpower. It's whether he finds one person who lets him say, "I don't know what's happening to me," and doesn't try to fix it. Just sits with it. Research by Bruce Feiler shows the average adult transition takes 3 to 5 years. The acute crisis phase typically lasts 2 to 3 years, with gradual improvement as men move into their 50s. 3 to 5 years. That's how long it takes to rebuild an identity that actually fits. Not the weekend retreat version, the real version. The one where you wake up and the life you're living feels like yours instead of a script someone else wrote. But most men don't give themselves that time. They either try to power through it in 6 months, or they avoid it entirely and wake up at 55 wondering where the last decade went. Now let me be specific about what this transition actually requires, because it's not vague self-help talk. It's concrete psychological work. First, you have to grieve the future you thought you were building. That promotion you thought would change everything. That relationship dynamic you thought would improve on its own. That version of yourself you thought you'd become by now. You have to let that go, not with bitterness, with honesty. It didn't happen, and holding on to it is keeping you stuck. Second, you have to reconnect with your body. Testosterone levels in men begin declining steadily around age 30, becoming more obvious in middle age. Hormonal shifts can alter mood, energy, and libido, making men feel more restless and dissatisfied. This isn't just mental, your body is changing, and ignoring that fact doesn't make you strong, it makes you disconnected. Third, you have to rebuild meaning. One man interviewed by Levinson asked himself, "What do I really get from and give to my wife, children, friends, work, community, and self?" That's the question. Not what do I achieve, what do I actually value? And am I living in alignment with that? And fourth, you have to find other men who are doing this work, not drinking buddies, not networking contacts, men who can sit across from you and say, yeah, I feel that too, without trying to solve it or minimize it or turn it into a joke. Research shows men in their 70s are often happier than men in their 40s. For men, being committed to being a good father helps give life true meaning during midlife. But meaning doesn't come from the role itself. It comes from showing up to that role as a whole person instead of a shell. Let me tell you what happens when a man actually does this work. He doesn't become a different person. He becomes more himself. The parts he was performing fall away. The parts that are real get stronger. His relationships shift because he's no longer relating from obligation. He's relating from choice. He stops needing external validation because he's built something internal that holds. He stops comparing himself to other men because he's no longer measuring success by someone else's scorecard. He starts making decisions that look strange from the outside but feel right from the inside. And the people who love him notice, not because he's happier in some Instagram way, because he's present, he's grounded, he's real in a way he wasn't before. In Western Europe, minimum happiness is reported around the mid-40s for both men and women. Research shows this precipitous drop in perceived stress in men in the US from their early 50s. That drop doesn't happen by accident. It happens when a man stops fighting what this decade is asking of him and starts listening to it. So here's the reality. Ages 35 to 45 aren't the invisible decade because nothing happens. They're the invisible decade because what happens is internal. And our culture doesn't value internal work. It values output, results, performance. But this is the decade that determines the next 30 years of a man's life. Either he uses it to rebuild himself from the inside, or he spends the rest of his life managing the slow collapse of a structure that was never designed to hold him. Derek, the guy I mentioned at the beginning, eventually figured it out. Not quickly, not cleanly, but he stopped pretending everything was fine. He started therapy. He reconnected with his kids in a real way instead of just being the provider. He took a role that paid less but didn't drain him. And the last time I saw him, he looked different. Not younger, just more like himself. You're in one of two worlds right now. The world where you acknowledge what this decade is asking of you. Or the world where you keep your head down and hope the feeling passes. It won't pass. But if you face it, it will transform you. And on the other side of that transformation is a version of yourself you've been trying to become your whole life. Not the impressive version, the real one.